Alright, ladies and gents, welcome to this hopefully short video. New survivors released on the PTB. Her name is Mikaela Reid. She actually has kind of an interesting AFK look over here. Let me just turn my audio down a bit. Okay. So what I want to what I want to do in this video is just go over her perks real quick and her lore. I'm just going to read out her lore because, you know, why not? Just as a quick disclaimer, she does not currently have any cosmetics in the store just yet on the PTB. But I'm guessing her Prestige 3 stuff maybe. But yeah, I'm not really gonna bother with that because I'm not gonna play the BTB all too much. But yeah, first of all, let's just look at her. I can zoom in, right? Wait, no? I guess I can only... Okay, I can't really... I mean, I guess I can just zoom in with my editing software later on. But this is her. She's kind of a witch character. We'll do the perks first, and then we'll go over the lore. So her three teachables are Boon Circle of Healing, Boon Shadow Step, and Clairvoyance. Two of these are Boon perks. They're new totem mechanics. So the way it works, it's basically a survivor, in this case currently only Mikaela, can bless a dull totem, and that totem will become a boon totem, and in order for that perk to be disabled, the killer needs to cleanse it, or corrupt it, or I don't know, whatever. It's literally just the opposite of a hex. So let's start off with a Circle of Healing. I think this is her strongest one. A boon that offers comfort amidst the terror. Press and hold the active ability near a dull totem or a hex totem to bless it and create a boon totem. Soft chimes ring out in a 28-meter range. Any survivor within the boon totem's range gain 100% healing speed bonus and can heal themselves without needing a medkit. You can only bless one totem at a time. All equipped boon perks are active on your boon totem. So... The first part of this is that you can just, you know, you can bless a doll or a hex. A doll makes sense. A hex seems really fucking strong. Like if, I'm not entirely sure how it works, but you can disable rune, or for example, when the killer gets, like his devour going, and he has like 4 or 5 stacks, you can just get rid of it completely. But on top of just cleansing it, you also turn it into a boon. So yeah, the way this works is, you know, people who are near it, they can just heal themselves, and they don't need a medkit. So it's basically a double speed self-care on demand, which seems really strong, but it can be cleansed. Killer can find it. Killer has an easier way of tracking a boon totem than a survivor does a hex totem. So, I mean, it's good, but when it gets cleansed, it isn't, because it's useless. I still think the perk could be really good though, but I haven't tested it whatsoever. So, Boon Shadow Step, a boon that conceals the truth. Press and hold the active ability near a dull or hex totem to bless it and create a boon totem. Soft chimes ring out in a 28-meter range. I think 28, yeah. Any survivor within the boon totem's range will have their scratch marks and auras hidden to the killer. This effect lingers for 4 seconds after leaving the boon totem's range. You can only bless one totem at a time. All equipped boon perks are active on your boon totem. So it's basically I guess, distortion on command whenever you're near the boon. Don't really have any opinion on this just yet. I don't think aura reading is that big of an issue for the killer to have. And so, you know, having an entire mechanic of trying to avoid that seems a bit unnecessary. And scratch marks... I guess scratch marks is good when you're looping near the totem. Yeah, it is pretty good when you're looping near the totem, because it's a 28-meter range. So, if you're within that range and you're looping, and for example, you vault something, you can run away, and for 4 seconds afterwards, you could already be like 30, 40 meters outside of the range, and you still don't have any scratch marks. So it could be good, but... From experience, for example, what's that UE perk? Damn, I forgot the name. Well, let me look for it just real quick, because it was this UE perk that got buffed really heavily, and people were like, "Oh, this is gonna be so OP," but then it ended up not really doing all too much. Lucky Break, yeah, which also got rid of scratch marks. So It's a niche. I'm not entirely sure how strong it's going to be. But again, it's on a boon totem, so it can be cleansed by the killer, or cursed, or whatever they're going to call that. And then her third, which I think is the most interesting, but probably also weakest, is Clairvoyance. There is an I'm going to have a difficult time with that. There's an intrinsic energy in you that sees beyond your vision. Clairvoyance activates whenever you cleanse a totem. When empty-handed, hold the ability button to unlock your fully aura reading potential. For up to 10 seconds, you see the auras of exit gate switches, generators, hooks, and chests within a 64-meter range. So it's basically a detective's hunch on command, mixed in with Saboteur and Wake Up. So you cleanse a totem. Once that's cleansed, you have the perk active. If you then don't have anything in your hand, you can choose when to activate it. When you do, for 10 seconds, you can see the auras. Okay, her book is just glitched. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Yeah, so it's not really that great because, I mean, for aura reading, when it comes to hooks, you just want to run Saboteur. There's no point in running this. Plus, even if you run Saboteur, it's not really that great to see hook auras. It's very niche. Exegates, you just run Wake Up. And I mean, Wake Up is just better. I mean, like, it just is. And then generators and chests, you can just run Detective's Hunch. And Detective's Hunch also gives you the ability to see totems. Obviously, you have a smaller window to check for those things because you need a gen to be completed. But then, I mean, I think it's still easier to just have it 5 times a game than, like 5 times every time a gen pops, rather than having it on command. But hey, who knows? It might be an amazing perk. We'll have to see. So yeah, those are her perks. I'm also going to show you the tier 1 variants real quick. Just so you can see how well they scale. So a Circle of Healing is 90% on tier 1, so I'm guessing 95 on tier 2. So you basically won't notice the difference. I think, yeah, the only difference here is that the effect will linger 2 seconds at tier 1, 3 seconds at tier 2, and 4 seconds at tier 3. So again, it's not going to change all too much. And yeah, Clairvoyance is just 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. So none of her perks scale whatsoever. You could just have them at tier 1 and they basically do the same thing. Okay, so I'm not going to do a gameplay video in this video because I'm very stretched for time right now. And I think a lot of people are going to try these boon totems the first, well, at least day of the release. So I'm gonna wait a bit, probably do it tomorrow and upload it tomorrow. So if you're interested in watching some gameplay, that's then. I'm gonna close this video off with her lore. So I'm just gonna read it out loud. I have not read through it, but it seems very long, so it seems kind of interesting. Yeah, let's get into it. Mikaela Reid was 16 when her father passed away. She would always miss her sailing lessons at dawn, his colorful yet inedible tacos, and his warm, contagious laughter. She felt like she was paddling in a vast storm black ocean, each rolling wave submerging her. Drifting in painful darkness, she almost lost herself, but resiliently, with love and care, she made her way back to shore. Well surrounded and supported by her friends, Mikaela put the past years behind her and looked at life in a new light. She was excited to try new things and discovered storytelling as an outlet. Her friends liked her stories of daunting danger and hard-earned survival. She read horror stories more and more, savoring the powerful, heart-pounding escapism it provided. Autumn became her favorite season, and she threw a grand production for Halloween every year, hosting all her friends for a thrilling night of horror stories, scary games, and homemade treats. Over the years, she also showed interest in witchcraft and practiced light blessings, plant-based spells, and palm reading divination. She gardened sage, muckwort, and lavender to craft homemade products such as body butters, soaps, and skin lotions. She aspired one day to live off the products she made for friends and family. In the meantime, she worked as a barista at the Moonstone, an independent and eccentric coffee shop in an artsy part of town. Every Friday night, she hosted an open mic at the coffee shop, performing stories live in front of customers. Julian, her best friend and roommate, recorded some of her shows and posted them online. Also unbeknown to her, he submitted one of her performances to the Endless Halloween Festival, where renowned storytellers perform on stage for Halloween. I think that's supposed to be where renowned storytellers, but okay. It was a beautiful surprise when Mikaela received an email from a festival inviting her to perform at their grand final on Halloween. The winning prize was big enough for her to launch her line of products. Excited, she burned a stick of herbs in each room to dissipate negative energies, then began to craft her tale of horror. Mikaela stayed up all night filling her note. Okay, I'm gonna redo that one. Mikaela stayed up all night filling her notebooks with abandoned beginnings. She had a story in mind, but unearthing it took patience and skill. Unearthing it took patience and skill. The following night, the nightmares began. For a week, she would wake in the middle of the night, gasping for air. The dream was the same every night. She was dragged down a cold set of stairs and thrown into a dark basement. Then her lungs would be set ablaze by a sharp iron hook, stabbing in her chest. A dark figure would pull on the hook and hoist her from the ground, slowly until the pain waked her. The more she finessed her Halloween tale, the darker her nightmares grew. So this is obviously related to the fog in a bit. I mean, it sounds like she's being put on a hook, as we all know from DBD. As days passed, exhaustion, anxiety, and stress took a toll on her. Often distracted, her coffees at the Moonstone were rushed, acrid, or going to the wrong customer. She no longer blessed the coffee beans in the morning, nor looked for omens in the leftover coffee grains. Her energy was low, and her magic felt drained. When she woke up screaming one night, she had enough. She asked Julian to watch her while she slept and record anything unusual. Julian agreed and started recording while Mikaela lay on her bed. Isn't this supposed to be laid? I feel like there's quite a lot of spelling mistakes here, but that might just be my English not being all too good. Minutes later, her fingers began to twitch, then her toes, her breath became labored. Then Julian stared in shock as Mikaela slowly rose in the air, levitating over her bed. Panicked, he shook her shoulders to wake her, but stopped when she began to scream. He grabbed his phone to call an ambulance, but a powerful crash diverted his attention. He looked down the hallway and saw a large, spidery fang sloom through the bathroom door. Amidst the commotion, Mikaela awoke. She saw the black spidery fang shredding the bathroom door and jumped out of bed. She slammed her bedroom door shut and shouted at Julian to help her barricade the door, Before he could react, however, the power went out. The room was submerged in a sudden darkness. A second later, the lights came back on, and an eerie quietness followed. Mikaela and Julian ventured out of the bedroom carefully. The bathroom door locked, intact, and there was no sign of anything abnormal, but Julian had recorded every sound. A sleepless night followed. When she returned to the apartment after her shift, Julian was not there. Mikaela wanted him to remove the recording of their ordeal, which she had posted online. Suspecting Julian might be at school, she left. The door clicked shut behind her, masking a stifled cry from the bathroom. As she neared her car, she looked over her shoulders. Mikaela felt watched. She whispered a protective spell and clutched her keys. Suddenly, a shadow pounced on the wall, and she broke into a run. She reached her car and rushed inside, locking the doors. Breathing hard, she looked through the windows. No one was there. Perhaps it was her nerves playing tricks on her. She turned on the ignition and drove off. The next day, Julian was still nowhere to be found. Mikaela had contacted everyone they knew. She looked for him all day and waited for him all night. Distraught and anxious, she missed all of her shifts at the Moonstone. Halloween was tonight, and so was the festival. Julian had entered the storytelling competition for her. He had supported for every time she doubted herself. Maybe he would be there. But between her nightmares and Julian's disappearance, she had been too worried to prepare a story for the contest. She looked at her notebook, filled with false starts. She could stay home, scared and sleepless, or she could finish what Julian had started. There was a reason why she loved to tell horror stories. They made her feel brave enough to face any challenge. That evening, when the host called Mikaela's name at the endless Halloween festival, she boldly stepped on stage, dressed in costume, a black dress matched with a white witchy hat. She hoped to spot Julian in the crowd, but she could not find him, and looking directly at the audience was a mistake. A sea of expectant faces was before her, eyes watching her every move. Her heart pounded in her chest as her hands began to shake. She grabbed the war microphone and cleared her throat. A thick silence greeted her, only interrupted by a distant cough. She reminded herself that tonight was All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, when the veil thinned betwixt his realm and the one beyond. She had a story in her heart, a story that mattered. If she told it right, perhaps Julian would hear it. Mikaela took a deep breath. The wet wind of her autumn whirled golden leaves around her. The wet wind of her autumn whirled golden leaves around her, yeah. She inhaled the acrid smell of damp foliage. She swallowed the bitter aftertaste of coffee still on her tongue. Distant crows cawed from an old oak tree. She closed her eyes. The crimson darkness under her eyelids turned darker. Her heartbeat slowed. She exhaled deeply, her breath a puff of mist in the cold night air. Now she felt awakened, refreshed, for the first time in weeks, and ready to tell the tale of a lifetime. She spoke into a microphone. She spoke into the microphone in a deep, haunting voice. She narrated the tale of billowing winds on the cold autumn nights, of a loyal friend disappearing before daylight, of forgotten victims hiding in the wings of darkness, of throbbing graves sealed with terrible secrets, and of eternal night in the shadow of death. Mikaela pointed at the night sky and said that no darkness was truly beyond light. Even on this moonless night, the skies shined with long dead stars. A thick black fog engulfed Mikaela, to the audience's amazement, and no one ever saw Mikaela Reid again. Okay, I'm pretty shit at storytelling. I just realized I'm just bad at reading, but I do love her story. It is amazing. The way she was taken by the entity, you know, this whole thick black engulfed Mikaela, black fog, sorry, is a bit weird, but hey, I don't mind it. So yeah, this video is a bit rushed. I apologize for the shitty reading as well, but I'm gonna most likely have a video of her gameplay up, and you know, it's less scripted, so it's gonna be less awkward. I can almost promise you that. If you did enjoy the video, let me know. If you're interested in the other video, subscribe, and I'll hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.